Today we are looking at the best 3 fragrances from Louis Vuitton. At least these are in my opinion. I've got about 8 Louis Vuitton fragrances and these are my favorite 3. Now the first one is going to be an honorable mention because I wanted to include this in the top 3, but it doesn't quite make the cut. So really there's going to be 4 fragrances we're going to mention. This is Meteor. This doesn't quite make the top 3 list, but I did a video on my YouTube channel, my last video about versatile fragrances, and this was in the top of that list for versatile fragrances. Meteor is a very soapy, clean, peppery, almost like a sharp smelling fragrance, a fragrance that you would like to wear when you're getting out the shower. It's very clean and professional. It smells like a much more expensive, upmarket and better quality version of CK1 by Calvin Klein. It just has that similar scent profile, but Meteor is in a league of its own. It's not really comparable to CK1 at all. You do have some citruses in Meteor, but they are very faint. It focuses more on a clean white floral note from the Rolly. You have some sharp black pepper and also a hint of vetiver as well. If I needed a very clean and soapy professional fragrance, Meteor would be my pick for that. Now let's move on to my top 3 fragrances from Louis Vuitton. Starting off with my scent of the day today, that is LImmensity. I'm not sure how you pronounce it exactly. It's a French name and I know I'm pronouncing it completely wrong. But LImmensity was my scent of the day today, and it's one of the best fragrances from Louis Vuitton that I've tried. This one is a very professional smelling fragrance. It almost smells like a fragrance like Bleu de Chanel. It has a similar vibe to it. It's not quite as blue and as sporty as Bleu de Chanel, but it has some similar notes in, like, has this sort of spicy grapefruit. It has an amber woody dry down, and it does smell very sophisticated like Bleu de Chanel does. LImmensity is very masculine. You have citruses in here from grapefruit, you have spices from ginger, and it all dries down to an amber woody note. I also pick up on like a herbal note in here, perhaps like a sage or something, but has this sort of green herbal note to it. But like I said, it's very professional smelling, and it is a fragrance that I like to wear if I'm dressing up a bit nicer. I wouldn't normally wear this casually, but you could wear it casually because it just smells like a very well put together, easygoing fragrance. But because of the price of it, because of the quality that is in here, and because of just the sophistication that it smells like, I like to wear slightly better clothes when I'm wearing LImmensity. Now, citruses can come in different forms. You can have like juicy citrus, zesty citrus. It could be a photorealistic, like smelling a bowl of cut oranges and lemons. But this one isn't really like that. You do get hints of grapefruit in here, but it's the spice from ginger that kind of takes that away. So you do pick up on the citrus grapefruit note, but it is not a really photorealistic, zesty note that you might think of when we mention citruses. A smartly dressed, confident person is who I would recommend LImmensity to, because that is what this fragrance emulates. Now let's move on to number 2. The second best fragrance in my Louis Vuitton collection is NOUVEAU MONDE. Now this for me is better than Ombre Nomade in every way. If you look at price, if you look at performance, if you look at the interesting parts of the fragrance, this one is just better in all aspects when comparing it to Ombre Nomade. In my opinion, what I actually prefer, I get better performance from this. I paid about £120 less than the same size bottle of Ombre Nomade, and I just find the notes in here to be more interesting than Ombre Nomade. This one has a similar profile to Ombre Nomade. You get the leathery oud, you get hints of rose, but you get a very sweet sort of chocolatey caramel note in here, and it just smells quite thick and heavy. This one works on my skin so well, and every time I wear it, I can just sort of feel it project in. You keep getting whiffs of it, whereas Ombre Nomade for some reason doesn't really project that much off my skin, even though it's seen as like a heavy beast mode fragrance. On me, Ombre Nomade doesn't work as well as it does on other people, but this one really does work. And I think it's the sweetness in here, the caramel, the chocolatey caramel notes you get in here really work well off my skin. It just lasts for a very long time on me. So you do have the sweet decadent notes, but then you have this leathery oud. So it has this sort of dark, mysterious, smoky like leather oud combo with the chocolate and caramel. Wonderful, unique, interesting, long-lasting, and just a really amazing head-turning fragrance that I love to wear when I'm going to a party or out with friends or something like that. So if you're looking for a fragrance to make a statement, one that people can smell across the room, one that is going to project, I think NOUVEAU MONDE is a better choice than Ombre Nomade. Now let's look at the number 1 fragrance from Louis Vuitton. My number one fragrance from Louis Vuitton and in my whole collection is Imagination. I've spoke about this many times now on this channel, and I'm not bored of talking about it. Hopefully you are not bored of hearing about it. If I said this was the best fragrance on the market for men right now, would that be an overstatement? I'm not sure if it would be an overstatement, because in my opinion, this is the best fragrance that you can buy for a man, especially in this category, in the versatile, clean, citrus, summery, compliment getting category. If that's a category, Imagination just wins on all fronts for me. It's a fragrance that I would recommend over any other citrus heavy popular men's fragrance. Now, we spoke about citrus earlier in LImmensity. We spoke about the grapefruit note, but it's not a very prominent note. It's not a zesty, juicy, photorealistic note like sticking your nose in a bowl of lemons and oranges. But that is what you get when you smell Imagination. It just smells so realistic. It's zesty, it's juicy. It smells so refreshing. It just makes you think that you're sat in the sun. It makes you think of like vacation times, happy times. It's really uplifting. It's mood boosting. And a lot of citrus fragrances either don't last very long or they smell quite cheap. They can have like a cleaning product smell to it, you know, like a detergent, something you clean the kitchen with or the bathroom, you know, a fake lemon smell. This one doesn't have that. It just smells very realistic, and it's very long lasting as well. There's something in Louis Vuitton fragrances, all of these that we spoke about, Meteor, LImmensity, NOUVEAU, MONDE, Imagination, there's something that they are built with, or the way they're made, that on my skin just really work. They always project well. They might not last forever. You know, Meteor doesn't last 12 hours, but when it's on my skin, it projects, and I feel like people around me can smell it, which is what we want a lot of the time when we're wearing a fragrance. Now I'm going to talk about the price of these fragrances, but I want to talk about the price of Imagination mainly. They're all the same price, by the way, like £350 or something for 200 ml. And we always, when we're talking about fragrances, we always wonder, is it worth the price? But with fragrances like Imagination especially, because I love it so much, because it brings me a lot of memories, I wear it all the time, I have so many good memories associated with Imagination, and it beats any other fragrance in that category. You can't really put a price on it, can you? You can't say it's overpriced or it's underpriced, because a lot of things are overpriced. A lot of designer things are overpriced. A Louis Vuitton bag is overpriced. How much is a Louis Vuitton leather gym bag? About £2,000. That's overpriced, right? It doesn't cost anywhere near that to make, I would imagine. So yes, they probably make a lot of profit from them, but you get a fragrance that is better, in my opinion, than most other fragrances on the market. So it is worth talking about price. I understand that we should, and we should compare them to other things. You know, we should compare Imagination to a similar fragrance that is on the market. So one that comes to my mind straight away is like Burlington 1819. They're not the same, but that's my next best citrus fragrance that I love, that smells really high quality. And they're actually probably a similar price when you look at it price per mil. So you need to look at what else you can buy for your money, and that's the best way of gauging whether something is overpriced or not. And of course, never go into debt buying fragrances. Only buy fragrances that you can afford. It's not worth, because in that sense, and they are all overpriced, aren't they? Only buy what you can afford at the time. So Imagination is my number one fragrance for Louis Vuitton, and probably my number one fragrance of all time at the moment. It's the best in its category, definitely. It's any citrus fragrance or summer fragrance, compliment getting fragrance, a fragrance that you know is going to just smell great all day and people around you will love it. This performs really well. I get all day performance from this and good projection, and always get kind of noticed when I'm wearing this. A lot of people always mention or ask me what I'm wearing when I wear Imagination, which doesn't actually happen a lot with other fragrances. So I really notice it when I'm wearing this. So it's the best in its category. It's my favorite fragrance in my collection at the moment, so it's my number one, of course, from Louis Vuitton. So these three fragrances are my favorite Louis Vuitton fragrances out of the 8 or so in my collection. Now let me know, have you tried any of these? Do you think Louis Vuitton fragrances are worth the money? Which ones have you tried? See you soon.